Salute everyone. Welcome to Knicks Buzz, a special live stream event with the founder of SHOTQUALITY.com. Welcome everyone, Simon Gersberg. Salute.
Thank you. This is awesome to be here. Nothing better than talking a little Knicks, talking a little shot quality. That's the dream.
Yeah, absolutely excited to have you on, Simon. A lot to talk about, but why don't you start by telling everyone about SHOTQUALITY.com, how it started. You're the founder, the CEO. It's an inspiring story. You're from New York. You're a Knicks fan. You got the analytics world buzzing. So why don't you let everyone know about how it started?
Totally. So the way shot quality started was I was a freshman at Colgate University working for the basketball team there, and I was just behind the bench subjectively grading the quality of shots. The coaches at Colgate really believed in this process over a result standpoint. Didn't matter if we missed 1,000 open threes. It was about, did we get 1,000 good open threes, which I think could be definitely related to some of the Knicks offensive schemes, and obviously related to all of NBA and college men's and college women's. And then from there, during quarantine, obviously had a lot of free time and was able to develop it for all of college basketball and then NBA.
Yep, amazing. And of course, you see below everyone on the ticker, it's used by over 60 Division I NCAA teams and multiple NBA teams as well. Can you confirm that?
College men's, yes. The NBA teams, it's a little funky because their access is a little odd and it's a little weird to go through. But I'm working right now to get an exclusive deal with one team. But the college men's teams, college overall team 60 is, yeah, that's confirmed.
Yep, fantastic. So, of course, the aim of shot quality is to help coaches, quantify their offense, and produce better quality shots as well. So, it's produced a lot of results, and from where it started to where it is now, talk to us about the growth of shot quality.
Totally, yeah. So last season we had 25 NCAA teams, and then this year pretty much tripled to 60. And then we also recently launched a separate website called Shot Quality Bets. Just using this quality of shot data. I mean, this data is so powerful. We used it to predict just college basketball games right now. And we're currently over 54% against the spread on like a ginormous 2,000 game sample. So that's been very, very successful so far. So that's like another side of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the information is extremely valuable, and it's proving to be something that's in hot demand as well. Hot demand. So, what does your work your week look like now? We've come out of the pandemic somewhat. Have you just got busier and busier?
It's actually funny. So last semester I took off from classes. So I'm technically supposed to be a senior at Colgate this year. I took off from classes to go full time on shot quality, but then this semester I'm returning. So now I got classes and obviously running shot quality. Not going to graduate anytime soon. I'm way, way behind on credits, and shot quality is definitely my priority. But it's been interesting balancing the two just to start.
Yeah, I can imagine, and obviously, salute to you, focusing on what you're passionate about, what's growing as well. And this thing is growing enormously, in terms of this game. How did you, get into basketball, and the New York Knicks? How did you, become a fan?
I mean, since growing up, I've always been like a huge fan. I'd say like my favorite teams growing up, obviously like David Lee walking double double. That was like when I was just younger, like first getting Al Harrington walking bucket. My dad was a huge Knicks fan, so obviously like 90s Knicks, like his favorite time of his life. So just putting that onto me, torturing me, I guess you could say. And then basketball, I mean, wasn't a great player, so I had to focus on something to get an advantage. So I guess it was the analytics side. I'm a good rebounder. That's pretty much it. I'd say my player comp is like Kevin Seraphin on the court, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you what is the best part of your game, and yeah, that's great. You've obviously been around the Knicks and with your family, your father as well, and involved in the game, which is great to see. And you're lending that now back into the game. You're investing into the game. For the growth of the game and the quality of the game. So, yeah, before we talk a little bit more about shot quality in terms of draft prospects and things coming up, the New York Knicks had a successful season last season. They overachieved somewhat. What was one of the biggest reasons you saw, I guess, either as a fan or analytically, for the New York Knicks to be able to succeed last season?
So last season was a very difficult season for me as a fan with the website. So a major reason, I'm sure every Knicks fan read an article about this, how the Knicks 3-point defense was incredible. It was a Thibodeau superpower. What was happening? Why are teams shooting 32% on open threes against us? And this was a major factor that all of last season shot quality had us overperforming, not only from a projection from Vegas' standpoint, but even just a projection like consistently throughout the regular season. Obviously, that came to fruition where in the playoffs because we stopped overperforming. The Hawks started hitting threes, obviously. So it was a little difficult for me as a fan because I obviously love the Knicks and always rooting for them. But to see the data be so negative on them throughout the entire season was pretty scary. And then this season, obviously, it's a little of a different story, actually. It has the Knicks' quality of possessions higher than their current record, based off the possessions they're getting offensively and defensively, slightly better than their overall record, which is very different from last year. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely. It was a very, very unique season. And you hit the nail in terms of the core at the 3-point shooting, defense, and on offense. And of course, this season, Simon, some of the rosters changed, but the New York Knicks are facing, I guess, different looks each and every night. And the New York Knicks are facing a tougher Eastern Conference. Tom Thibodeau is the coach. What are you seeing in terms of the team struggles this season and the offense being ran?
So they're shooting more threes offensively, but the quality of threes they're getting is kind of one of the bigger issues that I've seen with the Knicks. They take the second most off the dribble threes, and they have pretty good shooters doing. Like Fournier is a good off the dribble 3-point shooter. Quickly is a really good off the dribble 3-point shooter, but they get the 25th most catch and shoot threes. So it was definitely obvious that Thibodeau made a point of emphasis. We need to take more threes. We need to take more threes this year. And he's always talking about the quality of threes we're getting, the quality of threes we're getting. So I was a little surprised to see them taking more off the dribble threes and less catch and shoot. I think that possibly could do something with losing someone like Reggie Bullock because he didn't take one off the dribble three all year probably. But Fournier, I mean, overall better overall player than Reggie Bullock, I think, especially in the playoffs. That's going to be a huge addition, or hopefully we can make the playoffs, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that's one big issue, I think, from the offensive schematic. And then the second big thing for me that a little frustrating as a team perspective is how few cuts they get on offense. We get very few of our most efficient plays, obviously, rolls to the basket to Obi, rolls to the basket to Mitch, like just open dunks, obviously, on the roll man. We don't get many of those. And then we have this incredible asset in Obi, obviously. Probably, if he played 35 minutes a game, would probably lead the league in dunks. But we don't utilize him to the best of his ability. And then, obviously, we don't get a lot of cuts for open baskets, which is something that's the most efficient basket in the game, probably in the NBA. So,
yeah, spot on. That you just bring that up. I just read today that the New York Knicks rank, I think, second last in the league in cuts.
Yeah,
as of today, we do see a stagnant offense. A lot of holding the ball dominant up the top of the key as well. And obviously the New York Knicks don't have the best screen setters.
That's huge.
Yeah, Taj Gibson is great. Jericho Sims sets great screens, but he doesn't get many minutes. Getting players open, for a clean look. The New York Knicks do have to work hard, Simon, to get an open shot. Each and every possession. Derrick Rose, somebody who breaks down the defense and can collapse the defense as well. That's sorely missed.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when he's coming back. I think the biggest thing when we go into the draft is we just need a real point guard. Like right now, it's just obvious that like the offense is too stagnant, too much off the dribble threes, not enough passing, not enough assists. So maybe when we get to the draft, we could talk about some prospects that we could see that could maybe solve some of these issues, or if it's the deadline, or if it's the free agency, maybe with Brunson or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember you talking about other prospects last draft in the previous Cole Anthony as well. He was on a college team that wasn't suited to his strengths, right? And you're seeing not many shooters now. You're seeing in the NBA he's having more success as well. So talk to us a little bit about in terms of the college game, translating to the NBA game, and it's not always about your fit in college. It's about the fit in the NBA.
Totally. And I think the best players are the ones that can overcome the lack of fit, because if they're able to be malleable and overcome that, they're going to be a good prospect. But most players aren't able to, and then you have to look past that bias. So I guess something that would just be affecting your brain on that. A good example of that, great example, Cole Anthony. Another big one, Tyrese Maxey. Quickly was obviously played a little different on Kentucky. So many guys in Kentucky, even Hero. And I think a big guy in the draft this year that could be like that would be somebody like AJG from Duke. He's not getting a lot of playing time, and obviously, like right now, like what he's doing on the court, and he's going to be like a top 7 pick in the draft, so it's obviously not a kept secret. But I could see him being a really, really huge good fit for the Knicks, just because I feel like I don't know how much longer we're going to hold on to Randall. So I feel like we may need somebody else that just has high level star potential, which someone like AKG does, obviously.
Yeah, look, the biggest needs I see is somebody who is a shot spacer, floor spacer, and a shot creator, and someone like D Rose, like I said, a younger version of him that can just get in there and collapse the D at will. We see the New York Knicks struggle against lengthy, athletic backcourts, like we did against New Orleans, Charlotte. Those are like they just seem to run the Knicks out of the gym.
Totally. I actually see a comment right now. RJ should play point guard. That's fascinating, because like I've been thinking that all year that RJ should be playing point guard. The one thing that I guess bothers it's just he's so inconsistent recently too. Like he has one game where there's 3 games in a row he puts up 30, and then the next 2 games he has 6 turnovers and 2 assists. But I do see he has a lot of ball handling potential, maybe a secondary ball handler. So the prospect that would fit really well with his skills, I think, would be obviously Jaden Ivey. I think would be perfect for him, because Jaden Ivey, even though he's not the best passer in the draft, just having the first step that he has, you don't need to be an incredible passer if you have a first step like he has. So I think leveling someone like that with RJ would be so perfect. Obviously, we would need some lottery luck if that were to happen, but.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll touch on some more prospects as well. And salute to the chat. Keep the questions flowing as well. We'll try and get to the ones that we can. But on the current roster, who are the Knicks players that tend to rate the highest, analytically?
Totally. I think number one, the 2, number 1 and 2, I think are what you would expect. One is Mitch. I mean, the quality of shots he gets are pretty much all dunks. And then number 2 is the other guy who gets a lot of dunks is Obi. Obviously, his quality of shot on his 3 isn't too high, but just because he is such an incredible finisher around the rim, when he's on the court, the Knicks' quality of shots it's just been skyrocketing, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And like Kanal saying, RJ does have trouble making layups as well. Big task. What programming language did you use to build the website? Yeah, just talk to us a little bit about the algorithm.
Totally. The programming language of the website was not me, just the data's me. I think it was built in React. It was built React, HTML, and Python. But the algorithm, basically the way it's calculated, we use over 90 different variables that are all individualized for each player in the NBA and college basketball. So, for example, when Quickly takes an off the dribble 3, that has a different quality of shot than when Mitchell Robinson takes an off the dribble 3. So all the data is obviously individualized for each player.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the New York Knicks, this season, the trade deadline's coming up. What do you feel like are some complementary parts to fit within this current team that you think will help the team out?
It's interesting. I think it's more about actually just creating roster space. I really, really like the Cam Reddish pickup. I think just moving away of somebody like Burks, even though Burks is a really valuable asset for our team, he's a really good role player. I think just
Mm.
giving guys like finding more minutes for guys like Obi and Cam, I think would just do wonders for the development of them and our team overall in the future. So I don't even know if it's necessarily finding guys in the trade deadline, but more just offloading guys that are preventing our younger players from getting more minutes. And maybe that's just me being biased because I love watching the Knicks developing players because that's all I've been used to doing. When I was probably like 12, I probably thought Jerrion Grant was going to be a superstar when we drafted him in the second round. Like when I thought Tony Douglas was going to be a superstar when we got him. I thought Langston Galloway was going to be a superstar. Um, and I love watching the Knicks develop players. So maybe I'm just being biased here. But I feel like Cam does have really real potential of being more than even just a 3-and-D role player. So I would love to see him get more minutes, and obviously Obi as well, and quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the topic on everyone's mouth right now. Obviously, he just got in town, Simon and chat. I think Cam Reddish is going to get his shine, but like you said, there's a log jam. And Tom Thibodeau alluded to that log jam. Once he first gave his comments about the trade, and I think it's just going to take time for them to make the decision, like you said, to clear some of the space. And if Alec Burks can get a first round selection back off another team, they might be looking to move Evan Fournier's salary. So, and I think Quentin Grimes, he's just showing enormous growth every day.
100%. Yeah, I think Quinnen, he obviously doesn't. The one thing I haven't seen as much from, which I actually saw a little bit at Houston and I guess a little at Kansas too, his passing. Like I feel like he's like been very limited in his role just because obviously he's playing totally off the ball. But I would love to see him try to create for others more, which I haven't seen as much recently. Obviously, his defense is incredible and his shot is like pure. Even like looks like Allen Houston's shot. I've heard people mention that before. But yeah, I'd love to see him do a little more creation as well.
Yep. And Simon, if you were Tom Thibodeau, is there any tweaks to the offense that you would insert?
100%. Yeah, I think the biggest tweaks is just like I mentioned, like how are you getting the 25th most catch and shoot threes and the second most off the dribble? Like I get it, guys like Randall like to take off the dribble threes, but what can you do to get more paint touches and more catch and shoot threes to really enhance this offense? Like the offense has been not terrible, but could absolutely be better. Like we have talented offensive players on this team. We have a great rim runner in Mitch and Obi. We have pretty inefficient shot creator, I guess you would say, in Julius. A more efficient shot creator in RJ, I think, even at this season. Guys like Kemba can go off the bounce. Fournier is very efficient off the bounce. But how can we create more of these open catch and shoot looks for guys like Quickly? Quickly takes an open catch and shoot look. That's a 1.3 expected. Like I'm getting nerdy here. It's a very, very high quality shot. How can we get more of these and really take this offense to the next level? Would be my first thought, obviously.
Yeah, look, and like you say, it's been an inconsistent season, up and down, and that's what's showing in the record. Like the other night, out of bounds play in Cleveland last night, the Knicks couldn't get a good look out of that out of bounds play.
Even when RJ had that bank three at the buzzer against the Celtics, like that was a terrible play that was drawn up there. I don't know what that was. Obviously it went in, but that was not a great play. I don't know what Thibs was drawn up there. But yeah. Maybe he's got to give the keys to Dice. I don't know.
Yeah. And we've got to get to the other side of things, Simon. What Knicks players don't rate well, strictly from an analytics perspective.
So I think RJ and Julius are one of the more interesting use case studies using the case studies using the shot quality data, because RJ's first season, super inefficient, really bad mid-range shooter, really bad catch and shoot shooter, really bad off the bounce, pretty much bad at everything. Like he was inefficient across the board his rookie year. Second year, shoots 40% from three, ups all of his finishing numbers, his mid-range ups a little bit. So it's very interesting to see how the data, because it uses historic data but values the most recent season the most, how it adjusts as the players develop or regress. So, for example, Randall is even a better example. So, 7 seasons, we have a bunch of data on Randall. Then last year, he has this insane, finishes third in the MVP, shoots 41% from three. Incredible. He's always been a good finisher. Great from mid range last year. And then this year, he's back to his normal numbers. So, how the data is really adjusting to them because after last season's just incredibly efficient season. Short story, most efficient players on the team are the guys you'd expect. So guys like Randall and Julius are two high usage guys, obviously, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then quickly grades very well as well. Not as much his floater and his drive to the basket, even though I feel like he has improved some of his touch around the basket. I've seen a little more of his repertoire there. His off the bounce three and catch and shoot are like some of the best shots that the Knicks team actually manufactures.
Yep. Yeah. And the New York Knicks have invested in developmental and scouting teams, Simon. There's been reports that they are heavily, into analytics, from that perspective. And it's shown, I think, in recent draft as well. Have you seen that play an impact in their decisions?
Interesting. It's a little hard to tell, I think. I think drafting somebody, the one person I would love to know what the front office was thinking was passing on somebody like Jared Butler, who kind of had like a perfect draft, like analytical background. I was really surprised when they did. I loved the McBride pick. Quinnen was interesting because out of the draft, he was not a great free throw shooter and was inconsistent from three every year besides his most recent Houston year. So that was interesting. And obviously, eye test wise, he's going to be a really good shooter in this league. But yeah, it's very hard to tell. I mean, I love the Sims pick and the McBride pick coming out. And obviously, I think, like you mentioned, Quinn's going to be a really good 3-and-D guy. But it's kind of hard to tell how much analytics are influencing that decision. I would say, honestly, picking Grimes was not an analytical pick because guys who shoot that low from the free throw line in college rarely become like pure shooters in the NBA. So Grimes, for his career, shot 70% from the line. 79, I will say, from in his Houston years, but 70 overall for his career, which is not really a great number, not reflective of like a pure shooter. Like, for example, guys coming out of college that are shooting over 85% from the line are pure shooters. So I wouldn't say that pick was as analytical, but I think it was a good pick.
Yeah. I think it's easier to draft later in the first round in terms of finding a ready-made contributor. Whereas in the past they had the opportunity, they had to draft 7th, 8th, 9th, and you're trying to look for high upside, and look for projects, very young in age as well, in fear of missing out on someone who could be a star. So, it is easier to pick later in the draft, I feel.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, those Knox, picking Knox over Miles, Mikal, and Michael Porter Jr. I guess is a little questionable because he's been hurt a lot, but that's that one's got a sting.
Yeah. And we got something for him in Cam, which we'll touch on a little bit more. But
it's true.
Good question from Jay Boogie. The Leon Rose, if you were in his position, would you be in favor of clearing contracts out that can expire and then focus on the draft?
It's a very good question. The thing that really fascinates me about the draft 23-24 is it going to be high school? I remember there were some rumors about that. So like the second round would be loaded then if guys would come out of high school. It's totally unrelated, but Shaedon Sharpe, I know just recently was eligible for this upcoming draft now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't really unload. This is like the closest we've been, and we obviously have a lot of good young guys. I mean, like if you could clear Fournier, and then we just signed him. He's on a 2-year deal +1, I think, with the team option. Yeah, I think clearing him and Burks would definitely create more playing time for guys like Quickly, QDOT, and Cam. But yeah, Cam.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't play Cam, like then that was like the worst trade ever because like he was complaining about his playing time on the Hawks. I know it was the first game back. He only played like What do you play, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Hopefully that'll increase. Otherwise, that'll be very frustrating for sure.
Yeah, I'm a bit patient on that. I think, a lot of fans are looking at the last 2 games and thinking what's going on. But like I said again, the front office might be indicating that they want to showcase some vets first, and because deals don't just come about straight away. We still have 2 weeks to go where we're talking to teams and things like that. And I think they absolutely know they've got to clear some of their logjam. Based on a deal that might make sense. It needs to make sense, of course. If the Knicks hold on to Alec Burks, I won't be mad, because he's a winning player. That's still an asset next year.
Agreed.
I agree with you, Simon. Evan Fournier has improved his play, increased his value, but with 2 more guaranteed years after this, it'd be amazing to get off of that money in case that disgruntled star gets available sooner, and then you can, And in terms of this current draft class, just for as we get closer to the draft, and we'll do more shows later, when we get closer, but talk to us a bit about the strength of the class overall compared to the last few years. Is it, and then maybe the next 2 years, is it a very strong class?
So it's interesting. Obviously, there's the 3 to 4 guys at the top. I mean, it's round tier. It depends on if you consider Shaden Sharp and AJG to be in that top tier. The top tier is strong, but there's no like bona fide superstar. Like there's no Zion or Ja level talent coming out right now, I think. But there's probably more. I think the second rounders in this draft are going to be better than they've ever been ever. There are just so many guys like Harrison Ingram, 19-year-old from Stanford, who's probably not going to be drafted until late 20s. Bryce McGowens, high upside guy from Nebraska, probably won't be drafted till late 20s. Some of those G League guys. So, yeah, that's how I kind of thinking of the draft right now. And I feel like that doesn't really coincide great with the Knicks right now because they do have a lot of valuable role players already. It's just more about like finding that bona fide superstar right now, which I guess every team is looking for, obviously.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We are looking for that big piece. And look, it's always good because the Knicks can consider consolidating assets like they have been doing very effectively. Converting the Charlotte pick into Cam Reddish, and I no doubt I think they'll continue to kick that can if there's a prospect they don't want to take, or if there's a prospect they miss out on. Chris Duarte, I think all reports were he was the guy that they were pushing the hardest. He went 13.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think he would have helped out a lot. Shot creation, scoring, a little bit older. But it does indicate the New York Knicks do have, they have their guys. Walt Perrin's in here now, and he identifies the talent, and the Knicks may try and package and move up. We have so many second-round picks. Hopefully we can consolidate. But I appreciate that insight. Yeah. So this draft coming up, strong in the second round. The New York Knicks did well in the second round, I think, with Deuce McBride and Rokas.
And Sims.
Yeah, and
Sims too. Oh, Rokas. Yeah, I forgot he's going to come around next year. That'll be awesome.
Yeah. There are a lot of Deuce fans, Simon. Where do you sit with him in terms of do you feel like he's ready to get rotation minutes this season? Do you think he just needs more development in the G League?
I do. I do think he's ready. I feel like his mentality just on the court, like, because the Knicks are sluggish when they get out there. Like they just feel sluggish as a team. I don't know if that's because of Randall's mentality. I feel like he's actually rubbing off, just like eye test wise, like rubbing off negatively on RJ even. Like I've seen RJ like complain about more calls and just like put his head down more in the last 10 games than I have like ever, I feel like. So I think having somebody like Deuce, analytic wise would be good for the team. And then also just like in terms of just like mentality saving, like that guy is a dog. Like he'll pick a guy up from full court, pester him. Him and Q-Dot both picking up guys on the floor together, I feel like would be kind of special for our defense. And just like the hustle, like that's what I want to see. I feel like that's what made the team last year so special, was just like how hard we worked. And I feel like this year they just kind of lost that a little bit.
Yeah, you can absolutely see the potential. He just needs some reps. Like he goes to the G League, Simon. He puts up 16 and 16.
Yeah.
I know it's the G League, and you got to temper your expectation, but he's displaying all-round game. he's not one of those players that like Trey Burke that went down to the G League and just put up 38 every game, but nothing else. Deuce McBride does have an all-round game, and I really hope he is a future point guard, for this team.
He is, and he controls the ball well, passes well, can shoot open threes, can even shoot some off the bouncers. We saw a little bit in the summer league for sure. Yeah, I'd love to see him get more minutes, but to be honest, like if Kemba and D-Rose comes back, like there's no way he's getting minutes unless they move off one or two of those in the deadline. Like it just doesn't seem like where would those minutes be? And I guess that's kind of the issue that we were talking about earlier with like moving away from someone like Fournier, Burks, Rose, and Kemba.
Getting more easier shots, easier buckets. And we have a question that's come in from Twitter, from the caller via a direct message. And as an analytics guy, who are the analytics darlings of this 2022 draft?
So this is an interesting one. I think right now the analytics darling is a guy who takes a lot of mid-range shots. And this is one of my favorite examples. I think it's TyTy, and I'm sure the Knicks are following very closely with their Kentucky ties. He actually got banged up a little bit in the Auburn game the other day. But he is really, really special. Like his off the bounce creation, his passing, he had 16 assists in a game against Georgia, I believe it was a couple weeks ago. The thing that I think would make him fit so well with our team is just like his high level passing, his elite mid range. And there's one big stat that I actually found with him using the shot quality statistics. Right now, he's averaging 3.9 assists a game, but based off the passes he's making, he's expected to be averaging 4.7. So this is one of those things where he's basically making a lot of the right plays. It doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but it really is like on a per game basis. So he's somebody I'm very, very fascinated with, and I think would be a really, really good fit next to RJ and QDOT and quickly moving forward for sure.
Okay, so TyTy, there you have it, ladies and gents. And as we get closer as well to the tournament, anyone else that stand out? The New York Knicks have needs basically everywhere, Simon, except the power forward spot.
Totally. And then I'd say the other, not as much of an analytics darling, but I did find one really interesting stat that had me fascinated about him. He's the other guard, the other big guard from Alabama. So JD Davidson. He's the only player in the draft. I queried this today before I got on. He's the only player in the draft to create more than 9 shot quality points a game from passes. So that's basically creating 9 expected points. So like open three, layup, Alabama's offense.
Wow.
Under the age of 20, over 30 self-created attempts, and over 1 shot quality points per possession on self-created shots. So he's efficient creating his own shot. His three-point numbers are not great right now. It's probably because he's taking a lot of difficult threes. So we would expect him to shoot better, obviously, when he gets to the next level. And he's an explosive athlete. Him and TyTy, I think, are better fits for the Knicks than somebody like Kennedy Chandler, I'd expect. Just because, especially JD Davidson and TyTy being a little taller than Kennedy, like I think 3 inches taller. And I'm not sure if Chandler's going to be able to shoot at the next level. The way he's shooting at the line right now really concerns me. He's shooting 60% at the line, which is obviously really, really low. And just like his finishing numbers also have not been that great. So he's obviously a really good playmaker as well. But right now I definitely have JD and TyTy of Kennedy.
Yeah, and they're going to have that connection, that intel with the Kentucky ties. That's interesting. Yeah.
And I have one more guy who's not an analytics darling at all, so I guess it's going against my guy, the cooler here. But I could see him becoming a really, really good player in this league, and that's someone, Brace McGowens. The system at Nebraska, it's a little disoriented right now. The one concern I have with his game, so he's shooting really poor from 3, but if you watch his form, it's very pretty. He's shooting 82 from the line, which is the best indicator of future shooting performance. And this was a stat that had me. So he's 6'7", getting to the free throw line 44% of his shots. So that's insane. Really high free throw rate, good free throw shooter. I'm a little concerned about his feel because he has a negative assist to turnover ratio. But I would love to see the Knicks take a swing on a guy like that with higher upside? The other guy, I'm just going to keep rambling now. C. Braun of NC State, another guy who has, I think, pretty high upside. He's a 6'7" guard, sophomore from NC State. Really increased all of his numbers across the board from freshman to sophomore year, which I love to see from a prospect. I think that's huge. Seeing the improvement, because it just shows you're hard workers. He went from 57% from the free throw line to 71, big sample. Good passer for his size, went from an 8% assist percentage to 20. And I think has one of the most elite finishers in the entire draft. Almost all of his finishes are unassisted, which is different from a guy like obviously Obi coming out of Dayton, which almost all of his shots around the rim were assisted. Just running a lot of rolls in the basket.
Yeah, no, yeah, appreciate that. And the chat's saying also, as we touched on earlier, Sean, the draft doesn't have a clear standout, but there's some depth. Like Simon says, the second round was going to be very strong this season. The New York Knicks do have a lot of second round picks, but Simon, we may not be doing too much draft coverage for the Knicks because Tom Thibodeau is here, and they may be packaging these picks. We have so many other young players to prioritize right now that need to get minutes, like Cam Reddish.
Exactly, and that's why I'm usually most fascinated with the wing prospects coming out of the draft. Like that's usually the guys I follow the most. So those are guys like Lee from Davidson, Tyler Byrne from Richmond, Alondis Williams from Wake Forest, Christian Braun, Agbaji from both Braun and Agbaji from Kansas. Like these are guys that are just high level role players, but don't have much of a fit for the Knicks right now, which was what I was talking about with just second round being absolutely loaded. So that's why I would love the Knicks to take more swings at some of the star potential sleepers like McGowens, C. Braun maybe later. And then obviously with that lottery pick, swings on guys like TyTy and JD. The guys I don't think, I don't know if we were going to get to this, the guys I don't think would really fit well with the Knicks system. I'm not sure if Johnny Davis, I know he's extremely special and a great player. I'm not sure if he would fit well with our team because I really feel like we need more of a playmaker, and he is just so much more of a shot creator. And I think he's going to be a really good player in the league. But analytically, it's a little concerning, some of his assist to turnover numbers, just how many points he creates. So I would be a little concerned fitting him next to RJ. So I don't see him as much of a fit, even if I doubt he's even there for us. But
yeah, and the caller's been telling me too. He's high on some G League guys. G League Ignite. Dyson Daniels is actually from Australia, from the same city where I'm at. And,
wow.
Yeah, and Margarine as well.
Yeah, I've watched very little of the G League, so I don't think I give too much of like a comprehensive intel. And also, I don't even have shot quality stats on it to really back up a lot of what I'm saying yet on the G League. But I'm going to dive into more of those guys. I think in the next few weeks, actually.
Yeah, well, if you're open to coming back on, we can give you some more prospects, and when you get some more of the data,
Absolutely,
we can go through it again. But yeah, in terms of the wings, Simon, with Cam Reddish, you sound like you're very high on him, and RJ Barrett. Do you feel like we're set now with the wing spot? Do you see those two as being able to get us there in terms of the future at the wing?
Yeah, I think them two. Plus, even though I guess you wouldn't really count Quinnen as a wing, I just kind of feel like the role he plays is kind of a wing, just because he's just like basically out there as a pure shooter, scrappy defender. And yeah, I feel like we are pretty set on the wing. Like maybe we draft one wing in this draft, but like I really, really like Cam's upside. Like I get why the Hawks moved out off him. It seemed like I read some articles about it. It seems like he kind of like just was so frustrated by his playing time in the previous season, just kind of like gave up there. But just his free throw numbers, the way that's increased from his days at Duke. His form has always been so beautiful. I think when he tries on defense, he could be an elite wing defender, could be a good passer. Like he really does have just so much potential. I just want to see more out of him and just play more, obviously. So I'm very, very bullish on his upside for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing with me is his size. We've been starved of a true wing with a true size, not a tweener, not someone who's power forward. Just Just a
100%.
true
100%.
Trey Murphy was another one they were trying to get up, and move up. How did Trey Murphy rate, analytically?
He was obviously an incredible shooter. The one thing I didn't like about him in the draft was just because guys like that don't self-create as much always concern me taking them like lottery. Like I think he went like 13 to the Pelicans, something like that, something around there. Guys like that always concern me because I feel like you can find guys that are similar, like 6'8" wings that can shoot. Like Wieskamp was taken 20 picks later, and I just felt like they were similar level prospects from my perspective, just because Murphy didn't show as much shot creation coming out of Virginia, even though he was pretty efficient in his small sample shot creation. Didn't show as much, so I didn't really see too much upside. So then I thought it really makes sense to take a guy like that as early. But guys like Duarte did show a lot of shot creation upside for sure.
Yep, and Simon's here. In the cooler's got another question. What about the two studs from Zona? I love them for the Knicks.
Yeah, Bennedict Mathurin. I think he's really, really special. Right now, like on my big board, I have him like 6. The one reason I'm a little not concerned about his game, but like he's obviously not the playmaker we're looking for. Like he's not like an incredible passer. He's a good passer. He's far from bad. He's a slightly positive assist to turnover, averaging 2.3 assists. And he's averaging a little more than that from shot quality assists. He's averaging like close to 3 actually. But I think he'd be a really good fit for the team. It just depends on like, are we really, really pushing for need from the Knicks or pushing more for just best player? And obviously, I'm always the one to go with best player. His self-creation has been just incredibly efficient. He's right now in the 96th percentile short mid-range, 95th in catch and shoot 3, 75th in off the dribble 3, 65th in drive to the basket. He's basically efficient every single part of his game, and has really, really improved from his first season. So yeah, I mean, I think he would be really, really good get for the Knicks for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the high upside swing. I think that's where the New York Knicks can afford to go now. We've drafted a few guys that are sound fundamentally and ceiling wise. With Deuce, Rokas looks like he's a solid pro. Sims, these kind of guys, Grimes, and a lot of fans were upset that we didn't make the swings for the Jalen Johnsons and some other players available at that point in time. But now I think we've solidified. We probably can go back to taking a deeper swing.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's time. Let's try to take another swing like Kevin Knox and hope it turns out the other way this time. We'll see.
Yeah, but go for intangibles, motor, all of that.
Exactly.
And just on that, Kevin Knox is getting more minutes in Atlanta right now. Has fans quite upset, but I think Cam's going to play soon. I think Tibbs is going to get a tap on the shoulder, or he's going to get a gift in a trade that opens things up. But I want to ask you, Simon, you can build this team the way you would like it, analytic wise, obviously within realistic confines. How would you like to build this team out if you had the opportunity to make moves?
It's a great question. I'm not sure right now that Julius has the mentality to stay with this team. I mean, like he obviously was incredible last season, but I am really, really concerned about his future moving forward. Maybe it's recency bias. Maybe he'll get out of this funk. But obviously, you don't want to sell now because this is probably the lowest value he'll have. Never sell low. So I think Julius, I'm fine moving on from him this offseason. RJ, I'm never betting against a guy like RJ again. To be fully honest, I did not like him coming out of the draft. I thought he was going to be too inefficient in the league and never would be able to shoot the ball. The way Drew Hanlen's improved his form, his percentages across the board have just been startling. Like I think he's probably improved the most of a prospect coming out of college, probably since like Kawhi did coming out of San Diego State.
Yep.
So I think RJ is 100% a keeper. I think Quickly's a keeper. I hope they don't move off Obi, but it seems like they might. I think Obi's a keeper. Uh, and then the Grimes, good role player. Hopefully McBride could become a good role player. Cam, I'm very, very bullish on. And then moving forward, I think we just take swings. This is one of those things where, like, I would rarely draft somebody like Kendall Brown, but you want to draft a guy like that over somebody like Agbaji, because Agbaji's 23. I think he's 23. Obviously have an incredible jump this year. He's a good finisher and he's a great shooter. Might win Naismith Player of the Year. Kendall Brown, on the other hand, hasn't really flashed that much. I mean, he's shooting like 70% of the field, but almost all dunks. But I think you gotta, like we were talking about earlier, just go for the high upside guys every single part of the draft, I think, at this point. Because otherwise we're just going to be stuck in this abyss, I think.
Yeah, and just on that, you can tell that when a team is obviously stuck, which it does look like, but at the same time, in the blink of an eye, you add a generational guy, and that can change the team's fortunes in a heartbeat. Like, let's say we kept Julius, but you added, it is pie in the sky, but let's say you added a Donovan Mitchell type talent, that can just change the outlook of this team completely. A dynamic point guard, combo guard, that a younger Derrick Rose, for instance, like that just changes the outlook of this team. And at the same time, if we never get that player, we could also need to go the other way, like you said, and move some parts on, like Julius, and reconstruct, so to speak, like Indiana. Indiana hasn't built through the draft since, I think, Simon, I saw this crazy stat where I think it was since 1989 they haven't picked in the top 10, but they've managed to be relevant, and they've finally decided maybe to go the draft route,
Totally, yeah. And I'm really curious what, like, the value somebody like Julius would bring. Obviously, right now is the lowest value he's had since before last season, probably. But yeah, I feel like that's the way to move right now. Like, unless they can make some drastic changes to the offense to just increase their overall quality of shots, it seems like there needs to be a substantial change to the team.
Yeah, and philosophy-wise, you need to increase value, like you said. Cam Reddish, hopefully he plays and starts to really pop. Because there's talk, the New York Knicks are still evaluating Cam. They'd maybe love to have him if he shows that he's a great part of the future, but he could be involved in a bigger blockbuster as well. That is an asset that could really become a great asset in a bigger move, which I said earlier, which is a great consolidation when you move Kevin Knox and that pick for Cam. That's smart business the New York Knicks are doing. So they are in talent acquisition mode, and they're trying to find that next star. And I think Julius's values dipped, but last year it was unrealistic to expect him to continue that, I think, and we're seeing a lot more of what Julius is for his whole career.
Totally. And like I was mentioning earlier, it's like the perfect case study for shot quality. Like, how much do you value this season compared to their career? Like was it reason less fans in the stadium, no fans? Like what was going on, and why was this 1 year aberration? But I don't know.
Yeah, and salute to everyone in the chat. Throw some more questions out there for Simon. But in terms of the coach, the coaching staff as well, is there a particular style of game, Simon, that you like to see on offense? A team's identity. What do you like to see?
So we have this stat at Shot Quality. It basically tracks the quality of shots you get independent of talent. So regardless of who you have on your team, if you have Steph Curry, if you have DJ Augustine taking all your shots, and currently the three teams that are 1, 2, and 3 leading in this shot selection stat, it's just called shot selection. Number 1 is the Golden State Warriors, not because they have Steph Curry, but because they get the most catch and shoot threes and they get the most cuts, the 2 most efficient shots in basketball, and transition layups. This is an interesting one. Number 2, the Cavs, because they get the 3rd most cuts, the 14th most catch and shoot, and they get a lot of open threes and transition layups. And then number 3, this is the one that I would love to replicate. Obviously, there's only one mind like his out there, but Quinn Snyder, I feel like, is probably the best coach in the NBA, and really has been for a couple of years now. And I think of any system to replicate, it would be his. He's just like, obviously he has the talent, but at the same time, they do everything to maximize spacing, maximize his individual players, and get the best shots on the floor, offensively and defensively as well.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. Like the Golden State Warriors, cutting, catch and shoots. That's what keeps the defense guessing as well and moving. Right, you got to get the defense moving, setting solid screens. That's how the New York Knicks can get back to winning ways. And another question, Duke center Mark Williams would be a great fit. Thinks he reminds him of Clint Capella. The analytics back up the eye test. Probably if he's close to the bucket.
Yeah, he's obviously insanely efficient. I think he's going like second round right now, or maybe late first. It's fascinating. He doesn't draw a lot of fouls for a big guy. He has basically half the free throw rate of a guy like Bryce McGowens has, which is insane for a guy his size. So that's a little one concerning stat I see with him just right off the board. He's obviously incredible shot blocker. And just eye test wise, insane finisher. Obviously, I like that Clint comp a lot. But I'm just so out on drafting bigs right now because I feel like Jericho could play minutes in this league like very easily. Like I know Tosh is an incredible screen setter, but I really like Sims taking those in minutes, even like, and we got him at the 55th pick in the draft. So just like from a pick value standpoint, I don't think it makes sense to draft a guy like Mark Williams unless they show some form of playmaking, because that's what separates a guy like Clint Capella to a guy like Mobley, is being able to do everything rather than just like rim run and be an incredible shot blocker.
Yeah, and what do you think about Mo Bamba? He might be a target. Do you need a center that can stretch the floor, or do you just need a player that's great around the bucket?
It's so funny. Mo Bamba's been like one of my like of any player in the last 4 years, like the one guy I've like kept stock of, because I always just like I always felt like he was gonna get around eventually, and he just had like the 7 threes in the first half against the Sixers the other night, and I was freaking out. I don't think you need a stretch big. Like for example, like the Jazz, like I was mentioning, have the most efficient offense, and obviously Gobert doesn't stretch the floor. But if you don't have a stretch big, I think what you need is an elite rim runner, which a guy like Obi I think is kind of like, I guess kind of the John Collins role of the Hawks, or Mitch is. So I don't think you need the pick and pop guy. Usually it's not even an efficient shot, because on average, the guy who's taking the pick and pop three, he's not as good of a 3-point shooter as a guy who would just be taking the open catch and shoot three. Obviously there's exceptions to that rule 100%. But
yeah, Mo's on my radar too, and he's certainly improved his game and shooting wise. But yeah, I agree. If your center can roll hard, can set great screens like Jericho can, I think that was an excellent pick, high value. And another good question, mid-range hoops. Did you have any thoughts on Auburn's Kessler and a potential draft spot?
Yeah, so I've watched a ton of him. I think very similar to Mark Williams, even like obviously different play. I mean, same role on their team. They pretty much fill in their team. I did really like Kessler's touch too. I think he's got pretty good form at the line. Hasn't really shot threes yet. He shot 27 threes this season. Hasn't nailed. He's only nailed 4 of them, so he's shooting 15%. But I actually think he has the touch to possibly stretch the floor, maybe in a few years. And his shot blocking is like the best I've seen probably in this draft, besides Chet and I guess Koloko and Mark Williams probably up there too. But yeah, I mean, he's single-handedly making that defense elite Walker. But I just don't think drafting centers is like the way to go. I mean, especially from the Knicks, like we want to take swings. How much more of an impact would a guy like Walker Kessler and Mark Williams have than Jericho Sim minutes? Like that's why I'm questioning it from a philosophical standpoint on the draft.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. And of course, shot quality, quantifies offense and the shots, but defense. Yeah. Where do you stand in terms of philosophy and importance of defensive minded players?
Totally. I think the most important thing with defense, we've done a bunch of studies about what leads to the most effective defenses and offenses in NBA, college men's, women's over the last 5-10 years. It seems like the number one thing you need is an elite rim protector. So that's why the Jazz, obviously, with Gobert. Interior defense is the most important thing because it's the most controllable on the defensive end. So having a guy like Kessler, having a guy like Mark Williams, having a guy like Koloko in Arizona. But it's not hard to find. Like, I mean, it's not easy to find, but I don't think it's that challenging. Obviously, there's elite guys. I think Mo Bamba is honestly up there as like one of the elite rim protectors, even if his block numbers aren't leading the league, maybe just minutes wise. But he's affecting so many shots with the longest wingspan in the NBA. I don't know if Azubuike on Jazz it's more. But so that's the number one thing on defense. Obviously, that's controllable from a shot quality perspective defensively. And then number two is I like teams that play drop coverage. I really like the Bucks defensive scheme in pick and rolls. Obviously, you need that rim protector to do that. I think Mitch could even do a pretty good job of playing drop. I guess that goes with the interior defense. And then obviously just forcing turnovers, which Tips has done pretty consistently over his coaching career for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And just before I get to Sean's question, we've got Johnny Bryant here. You mentioned Quinn Snyder, worked closely with the Utah system. A lot of fans, thinking Johnny could be the next guy. What do you see out of Johnny Bryant and the qualities he could lend?
And he obviously worked with Quinn, so I'm sure he had Quinn's ear for a while. I hope he adopted some of his philosophies if he does take over. But yeah, I mean, I mean, Quinn Snyder just seems like such a genius level coach. So just working with him so many years, obviously, it's got to be impactful.
Yep. And Sean's question, Bennedict Mathurin, do you have a position you think he'll play in the NBA?
He seems pretty switchable defensively. I'd expect him to be like a 2-3. So he's a 6'7" guard listed. But 6'7" is pretty big. I'm curious what his wingspan is actually. I could see him being probably switch 2 to 4 maybe, because he's pretty strong.
Yep.
Wingspan. Plus wingspan. Okay. Wingspan 6'9". Yeah. So I could see him definitely switching maybe 2 to 4 and even bringing up the ball up a little bit. His passing and his feel isn't great, but defensively definitely switching 1 to 4 or even 2 to 4.
Yep. Yeah, and in terms of shot quality, Simon, it's done a lot of growth. 2022, another exciting season ahead. What are the plans for the growth of shot quality? Where would you like to see this year go?
Obviously, biggest thing would just be add more college basketball teams. Keep growing in that regard. Getting more clients for the betting product as well. I'm really going to try to build out this NBA draft model with articles and everything using these shot quality stats. I wasn't able to do it last summer. It was a big goal of mine. I wasn't able to get to it, just too much on my plate. But this offseason, right before the draft, I'm really trying to grind on that and build a model that will output and get some articles out there, because it is something I'm really passionate about and want to share some of my scouting thoughts and then also just like analytical thoughts as well. Yeah,
the sky's the limit, onwards and upwards. And like I said, that draft coverage would be fire. You're a busy man. You're still you're back doing classes, growing shot quality. Yeah, I did read a while back that you deferred for a bit, then you've decided to then get back to it. So salute.
Probably just this semester. This will probably be it. I mean, maybe I'll graduate. I'll hopefully graduate at some point, but things are going the way they're going. Yeah,
shot quality continues to blow up and explode this year, then it'll be probably full time for you.
Absolutely, and that's the goal. Yep,
and is there anything else you would like to get out there? As we see if any more questions come through. But yeah, the chat's been loving the interview, and appreciate your time.
No, would just say follow Shot Quality and Shot Quality Bets. Check out the websites. They're actually going to the Shot Quality website. I'm making it free for the next 3 days. I want people to just see the data, make it public, at least for a couple days. Just have people test it out. I'm not a big fan of the paywall. I just kind of need it just because of the coaching clients and everything. But I'm happy I can make it free for at least a few days, just so people can really see what's behind the closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely. You believe in the product, right? And of course, so many people subscribe, but that's very generous of you, Simon, to do that and let people in on the inner workings and to test it out for themselves, right? Because you really believe in the numbers. So at the end of the day, I think that's just going to do you well, and it's going to continue to get new fans and clients, I think. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, we have 60 NCAA teams and growing, and let's hope more NBA teams continue to work with it.
Hopefully that's the goal.
Yeah, in the New York Knicks. But really appreciate your time, Simon. We'll have you back anytime. Not only because you're a Knicks fan, but just because of the humble knowledge and the wise words you speak on, and appreciate you coming through. The streets are buzzing, and hopefully the New York Knicks, whether it's this season or that, we can get back on the right track, and get closer to where we need to be sooner than later.
I hope so too. Like I said at the beginning, nothing I enjoy more than spending my time talking Knicks. Nothing more. I could do this all day.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as we get closer. And who are some of your favorites for the tournament?
Arizona. I mean, we'll see what happens in the game tonight. Huge game tonight against UCLA, 11 p.m. Eastern. It's late, but huge game. I think they're very, very, very special team. They're number one on the website in terms of quality of possessions, offensive, defensively. They play fast. They get those NBA draft prospects touches. And I think they have a really, really good chance. And they're not the favorite right now to win it all.
Okay. I might get on to Shot Quality Bets, have a look. Everybody bet responsibly with your head, not with your heart. But, and follow Simon at Shot Quality on our socials and Shot Quality Bets. And you got a bright future, and sky's the limit.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, have a lovely evening, and thanks for your time.
You too. See ya.
Thanks. Catch you soon, Simon.
Bye.
Ladies and gents, Simon Gersberg, shotquality.com. Appreciate his time, and sharing his knowledge and also the background of the what work's been going on, and good question. Shot Quality Bets. It's another account where you do get the statistics, the analytics, based on matchups as well. To help you make more informed decisions as well. Appreciate that question, guys. We can keep this thing rolling. If you guys want to throw any more just Knicks chat and talk out there, we'll continue for a minute. And I appreciate everyone, and your questions. It was a great interview, and speaking to Simon and learning a bit more about his philosophies as well. How he became a New York Knicks fan, and what he would like to see, from this New York Knicks team. We are in a situation right now. We're halfway through the season. Moves are on the horizon. The trade deadline's coming up. It's going to be a big summer as well. I don't really foresee a big activity in the draft, so to speak. Of course, the New York Knicks could change philosophy, but the coach, we have enough young players at the minute than we can handle. Like Simon says, the first round lacks that bona fide, star or superstar potential, but the second round has a lot of value. Second round has a lot of talented players as well. So there's a lot of depth in this league. And Jarvis here would like to know if anyone has seen the 3-and-D player from Michigan. I believe his name is Caleb Houston. I've not, but I'm sure some of the other keen-eyed college hoops fans in the chat may have. Jarvis, appreciate you, but being where I am in Australia, I tend to miss a lot of the college games, but I really look forward to the tournament. The tournament as well. Obviously the pandemic, we missed out on the tournament during the Obi Toppin draft as well. And then the New York Knicks obviously have a better scouting department now. I trust the scouting department a lot more. So, whenever we do make selections, and whether we move up or we move down, I'm always fascinated, to see what the Knicks are thinking right now. We know we've covered a little bit of Rokas Jokubaitis, who's, over in Europe as a stash pick. A lot of scouts rate him as the best stash prospect outside of the NBA right now. And he's on track to be the rising star in the Euro League, playing for Barcelona. He plays with other NBA players, Mirotic, Dante Exum, other players out there. So Barcelona, good league out there for 21-year-old. Rokas is getting quality reps. And I think he's on the same path, if not ahead of Deuce McBride's development as well. I know Deuce is here in the States, so we see a lot more talk and exposure to Deuce McBride. But I've got my eyes on Rokas as well. And there's reports that the New York Knicks are headed to Europe in February to look at Rokas, in person, to get their own evaluation of Rokas and, to see what they think of him, ahead of maybe some moves that may happen. The New York Knicks may have to make some choices. Some teams would love a player like Rokas, who in terms of doesn't require a salary. He doesn't need any salary, but he's a talent. So teams will ask for that in a throw-in, in a trade package. You've almost got a deal. It doesn't cost you much to ask for a throw-in, whether it be Deuce or Rokas as well. What do you guys think about? What do you guys think about the selections we've made? In previously, the Frank, the Knox. Obviously, we moved past those. That era is now a thing of the past. The Phil Jackson, Fizdale era is in Steve Mills is a thing of the past. Frank and Knox are out of here. We consolidated with getting Cam in here as well. What's next for Obi Toppin quickly? I think most fans seem to have a lot more consensus on Deuce and Grimes over Obi and Quickly, right? Obi and Quickly got the fan base divided, and I think Deuce and Rokas and Grimes have got the fan base a little bit more on the same page as well. Sharpow's IQ has been a point guard this whole season, and start IQ for the rest of the season wouldn't be a bad thing as well. And P. Nice says, he thinks we'll get Jalen Brunson in here. Yeah, we do need to definitely solidify that rotation point guard spot, starting point guard spot. Derrick Rose, how long can we continue to kick the tires, with 33-year-old D Rose? And like Sherwin says, Frank Knox flamed out, and Obi Toppin's fate is soon to be decided, I feel like, because this thing can't continue with Obi Toppin playing 9 minutes a night, right? If he's an asset, we need to see what we can do, in terms of managing that asset. And of course, the front office, the philosophy of this club, it's going to show us in the coming weeks too, right? What decisions are going to be made. Teams like Indiana, teams like Houston, and that they've made their intentions pretty clear, but the New York Knicks are treading water right now. But thankfully, we have some flexibility. We have Quentin Grimes, some young positives come from the season. RJ Barrett, probably, and Mitchell Robinson being the biggest standouts for me in terms of they're continuing to grow and showcase their worth with this team. And RJ Barrett, only just 21 years old, is taking on more of the leadership on and off the court, leading the club in the presses, leading on the court with assists. Had dual assist leading assist the other night with 6 assists in the win against the Clippers. RJ Barrett, though, he's got to continue to work on his free throws. That's going to be critical, down the stretch, whether we can win more games or not. Nick Yax is not rooting against him, but McBride can make better decisions and better defense, which we need both of that. Deuce is a solid two-way guy already. You got to feel like there's a lot more to come, in terms of his ceiling when he has that solid base already, a solid foundation. so to speak. I think Deuce McBride just needs reps. He just needs to continue to play ball, and I'm okay if it's in the G League. Continue to play 38 minutes. Put up those numbers like 16 and 16. Continue to work on his game, but also bring him up still. Fit him in where we can. Let's see after the trade deadline if the New York Knicks can clear some space. Clear this log jam, especially for Cam Reddish to start getting some action. We saw Tom Thibodeau say, obviously, Quentin and Alec Burks are central to his plans. Evan Fournier, he could be the one that we're trying to showcase a little bit more, in terms of maybe moving him on in another trade and clearing out Evan Fournier's salary. Like Simon touched on as well, that is a big roadblock in terms of salary. Evans increased his play. He's got closer to what he's been in the league in terms of his average. But Evan Fournier's salary with 2 more guaranteed years of $19 million, you might need to see whether you can get out of that sooner than later. The noise seems to have sort of quelled a little bit on Miles Turner. Miles Turner is suffering from a foot injury, a stress reaction, which isn't too serious at the moment, but it does need rest. You can't continue to put weight on a foot that has a stress reaction, which may turn into a stress fracture, and that'll be critical for Miles Turner and his health, his future. Indiana, they're going to lose some trade value on that as well. That reports where their trade value are pretty high on Turner with 2 first-round picks as a starting point right now. But what contender wants to trade for an injured player right now? So that's really going to be a story to watch. What the New York Knicks do. Obviously, they lost last night. Just touching on that, in Cleveland, the New York Knicks were up and down like they always are, inconsistent throughout the game. Fought their way back, went down big, clawed their way back. They lost the game. Again, some bad decision making towards the end of the game. As we see it, back to 2 games below 500. The record gets tougher. The schedule with Milwaukee, Miami, a brutal road trip out west, and I think it's go time for the New York Knicks in terms of making decisions right now. I think we fall maybe 5 games under 500. That'd be a significant point in terms of their mindset, making decisions, for this season. Jorge, why are we looking at other guards when we have our own and cheap? And our mid-range, Miles Turner has the Serge Ibaka disease, hit some threes and lost his mind. With the New York Knicks, I wanted to continue to see us have flexibility. That is the main thing, right? We all know we're not going to win the championship this year, so don't make any move that's going to hamper this team. Sometimes you just need to accept where you're at right now and maybe wait for the summer where things shake loose a bit more, and it's a bit more of a time when you can wheel and deal, right? If anything, I'm looking for this trade deadline to make smart moves still, like the Cam Reddish move was a no-brainer. If another move like that comes up, pull the trigger as well. Try and clear some salary in the log jam. Those should be the 2 biggest priorities, because I don't see that big home run available. I don't see a home run available to hit that's going to put the Knicks over the top this season or anything like that. So that might be the best decision, to just wait till the summer, just push forward to see with this roster, develop some of the younger players and see if they can make a push for the play-in. Give the keys to Star J. Barrett. Let him just take over and just use this whole half of the season to rock out, make mistakes, while out, put up shots, put up numbers, do all of that. Invest in your young player for the future as well. And of course, Julius, keep him, under control, coach him up as well. Let those 2 guys just see where they take us, and maybe make some decisions in the future with the summer coming up. Because I think, we did spend some money mid-range, spending some of these free agents, being worried about letting them walk. I think a lot of that was fear of letting Burks walk for nothing, letting Noel walk for nothing. So we just signed them to some friendly contracts, but we did spend the money at the end of the day. And they're all movable except the Fournier one. I think the Fournier one's going to be more challenging. That's going to be a move that, really needs to be thought about in terms of a blockbuster deal. The $19 million is critical, for a bigger deal. It's going to be interesting to see with that. And Obi Toppin, there are reporters still saying he has some value, still has some trade value to a team. I mean, Kevin Knox had some trade value still, was able to get us a player with a pick. Obi Toppin, we need to manage that asset critically this season, whether it be, deciding that he's not part of the future here, or, opening the door, clearing the runway for Obi Toppin to showcase what he can do. He's becoming probably the most polarizing guy after Frank Ntilikina right now. Probably actually behind Julius Randle right now. I think no doubt Julius Randle is the most polarizing New York Knick, but Obi Toppin's probably second, which goes hand in hand with them playing the same position, right? So you heard Simon's thoughts, his thoughts on the wing spot. He thinks with Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, that we're actually in a very, very good situation with the wing spot. In terms of the future moving forward, let's continue to show these guys minutes, and that we're keen to build around them. They have all the talent in the world. I would not be mad if we just stayed pat at the wing spot for now. With Cam Reddish obviously needing, we need to see what he looks like, in the orange and blue, but give him 20 minutes, no less. We need to clear some of those minutes, and Alec Burks and Evan Fournier may need to be the ones that take the biggest hit, right? I don't want Quentin Grimes to take any hit with his minutes, right? Because he's young, he's under quality control with the contract. He has a high ceiling as well. I understand how valuable Burks is. There's going to be a lot of contenders, inquire for Alec Burks as well. Tibbs seems to love Alec running the point due to his size. And the other thing is, like, the elephant in the room, like Sharp Hour says, the Kemba Walker situation. I expressed my thoughts after the Clippers win. I was sort of hoping he wouldn't come back. No knock on Kemba at all. I just want to move forward without Kemba. I feel like the team is better constructed without him. He gives it his all that he's got right now, but he's not the same player. We need to get bigger at the guard spot. And I think Kemba Walker can help some contenders as well. It's going to be interesting to see how much trade value Kemba has. I think, second round pick probably at the most. You can't really hope for that, anything more. Maybe he is a package in terms of being a part of a bigger deal as well. That helps us get another piece as well. So stay tuned with that. We know Tibbs isn't the biggest fan of Kemba Walker, and they probably needed to play him last night just to showcase that he is healthy and that he can play still. He can help a team, right? There's no point having Kemba Walker sit if you're trying to trade him. So I wouldn't read too much into the fact that Kemba Walker got back into the rotation. It's probably just to show that he is healthy and that he can contribute still. And P9 says, the Clippers would be a nice fit for Kemba as well. I can see that too. Reggie Jackson looked like he needed some help out there. The guard spot, they're depleted. But I think Kemba Walker will find another home. If we don't trade Kemba, he will be bought out. I feel like Kemba Walker will be bought out. And and like Midrange says, Kemba's value will go up if he accepts the bench role too. He's on an unspoken minutes restriction. Absolutely, facts. They seem to dance around the facts about him and how long he can go for. And it makes a question some of the decisions, when he came back before Christmas, they were playing him straight 40 minutes a night, putting up 44 points. But I knew that was not sustainable, right? This is a guy that needs to be managed, right? An arthritic knee condition can't just be thrown out there. Kemba Walker for 20 minutes a night, off the bench, that could be a serious asset, no doubt. Serious asset could need Kemba Walker. So the New York Knicks front office needs to talk to teams about the situation and make lemonade out of lemons, basically, out of the situation, like we did with Kevin Knox, right? Kevin Knox's fate was written. He wasn't going to stay as a New York Knick. We were able to acknowledge and package another asset in terms of the first round pick from Charlotte and get a Cam Reddish up in here as well. So we're going to continue this dialogue. We need to be having these real conversations, because the New York Knicks, whilst we're only 2 games under 500, I'm more looking at the eye test. You got to be real about this team's potential, the way they're currently constructed, right? They're not just going to suddenly get a heap of cohesion and a heap of chemistry, I feel like, and make the 6th seed. I don't see that happening. Of course, could it happen? Stranger things have happened, and fans have every right to be optimistic. But I've just seen enough of a sample size. We're halfway. We're past the halfway mark of this season, right? Maybe addition by subtraction too. Maybe we do get a lot better if you take Kemba Walker and you take Fournier out and you give Deuce McBride, RJ, Quentin Grimes a lot more minutes, Cam Reddish. Maybe that does, unbelievable things for the team, and that moves them forward as well. I could see that happening. But if they continue to play the Kemba Walker rotation, have Evan Fournier together with heavy minutes, those guys, I don't see us winning, a lot of games on the defensive end. That's just going to be tough, right? The league, is strong. The schedule's tough. We got the second toughest schedule on the run home for this club, right? And we always know, we were hearing that there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen as well, right? We got Scott Perry, Leon Rose, Worldwide West, Brock Allah, some other players, other dudes probably have a lot of say. Julius is probably he's committed a lot of money and future to the New York Knicks. He's probably trying to have a say, bring in my guys. Derrick Rose probably wants, Eric Gordon, his guy brought in, Taj and Derrick Rose, they're on the winning side. They want to win ASAP, right? Because their days are numbered. Whereas on the other side, we have this bright future with other players, RJ Barrett, Deuce, Grimes, et cetera, right? So we're stuck in the middle right now. We're in a crossroads, so to speak. We do need to make a decision. I'm happy to continue riding it out as long as we don't make any cap strapping moves, right? No cap strapping moves, and let's see where we can go. Kemba had a nice game for minutes played. 4 assists, quickly had 6, but played terrible, if we're honest as well. And I think Kemba showcased that he's got game still. He's got game that can help teams, and I think teams will know that. It's just about, I guess, the $8 million. What salary, what money is going to make that deal work for a Kemba Walker move on limited minutes. And there's a lot of buzz talk about Jalen Brunson, P. Nice. That's the name to look out for as well in terms of the connections to the New York Knicks and the need at the point guard spot as well. And also, a quick update on Derrick Rose. He's traveling with the team now. He's doing stand-up drills, rehabilitation quite well. D Rose could be back in the next 3 weeks, right after the trade deadline. So D Rose is getting closer to. Does Tibbs just put all his eggs in that basket again, right? And just say, hey, to the hell with this. I'm going to rock with D Rose and see where he can take us again. Maybe Deuce will quickly or IQ back, Burks back him up. And Shah with the IQ, Evan, RJ, Randall, and Mitch, they could play 30 minutes-ish, and the second unit could play 18 minutes-ish. And Nick Yak says, not soon, as Dallas may need him this year as well. Like we know the connections as well. That is the name to look out for. Jalen Brunson's been connected to the Knicks for a long time, but it's up to Dallas in terms of Dallas making their decisions about what they need to do. And appreciate everyone keeping the chat buzzing. Simon Gersberg of SHOTQUALITY.com, appreciate him stopping through, and we'll get Simon back on as we get closer to the draft as well. But it was great to hear his thoughts about what the class is like this season, with no huge superstar in his eyes. But however, the second round, there's going to be a plethora of quality guys in the second round. The New York Knicks continue to find gems in the second round, but roster spots are quickly filling up on this team, right? We need consolidation ASAP, right? So give me your consolidation moves right now, because the Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier pairing is just not getting it done, right? It ain't getting it done. The front office has some certain thoughts. They thought Cam Reddish was worth getting in and taking a flyer on. Tom Thibodeau seems to be pushing back, resistant as always, doubling down on his Burks and his Grimes and things like that. He's pushing back. He's doubling down. He's probably sending subliminals to get me this log jam cleared up. and let's see what happens. Wouldn't be against helping some teams as well, taking on some draft compensation. Like we always say, salute Frank. Yeah, let's see what kind of moves. I think the Cam move sort of made things a bit easier for this front office, right? We made a move already, so there isn't as much pressure. Now the other moves to come is probably going to come to help make sense of the other move with Cam, right? Clear the log jam, fit some more pieces around it, and also the Julius Randle situation, right? This season continues to get crazier by the day, up and down, winning and losing. RJ Star J Barrett is quickly taken on the mantle. Fans are falling in love if they weren't already. RJ Barrett's continuing to grow. Got to hit those free throws though. But continue on your grind, RJ. Julius Randle, like you heard from Simon, his thoughts on Julius as well. In the shot quality, we had a feeling that the pandemic season from Julius was a bit more of an aberration. Is he still a great player? Yes, he's still a great player in the league, can help teams out, but we definitely see some shortcomings from Julius, going against longer defenders, and especially when he's tasked to carry a team as well. I've got no problem keeping Julius around if he becomes the second, third option on this team, right? He can go sort of back to more his role with the New Orleans Pelicans, that kind of role, right? We need bona fide shot creators, and a floor general as well. And like Frank says, yeah, I think the Lakers could definitely use Kemba, and they could definitely use Burks. And that's the beautiful thing too. Whilst the front office did spend their cash, I think it's movable parts. Nerlens Noel, hopefully he stays healthy. Nerlens Noel can be moved on in a deal if they would choose to. They might need to attach a draft pick to it, a second rounder or something, but you can't tell me that Nerlens Noel's $10 million is not tradable. Alec Burks is going to be an asset in terms of teams will want to call the New York Knicks to get their hands on Alec Burks, right? In this arms race as we head towards the playoffs, right? Can you imagine if a contending team like Milwaukee, contending team like Chicago, Miami can get their hands on an Alec Burks? I mean, we could technically auction off Alec Burks to the highest bidder and just see what that could get us. P and I say Lakers owe us a favor too. Straight facts with that one. Canal, Walker, Fournier, Burks to LA, Westbrook and the Lakers 27th first to Houston, and John Wall to the New York Knicks. There's going to be a lot of trade discussions happening. Keep throwing your trades out there. Like I said, for me, I'm all for making any move as long as it's not hampering the future in terms of salary. I think we're a little bit further away than where we hope to be. And I'd like to clear the runway for RJ Barrett, clear the runway for Cam, Grimes, Deuce, these other guys to continue to get more minutes. Right. And of course, RJ and Julius may not be going nowhere. So, Nerlens Noel, clear the runway for Mitch, for Sims. Fournier, clear the runway for the other wings, and Alec Burks as well. Try and get him to clear the runway. I know Alec Burks helps us win now. There's no doubt. Alec Burks can be a winning piece, but at what cost, right? Do we just hold on to him, hoping to make the third? Sorry, not the third. The play in, the seventh spot, the sixth spot, that kind of thing. I just don't think that's going to help us right now. We probably just need to make that cut bait like we did with the Marcus Morris trade and help get a first back in here that got us quickly. For no reason. We would have lost out on an asset, right, if we had kept Mook Morris here. And you guys keep the streets buzzing. And we've got another couple tough games coming up. Decisions are going to be made off the back of where we are. And I think, the New York Knicks are probably going to head more below 500 unless we can seriously put off some unlikely wins. I don't see it happening. I mean, the New York Knicks fought tooth and nail last night. It was closer than what I thought it would be. We had the win there. It was there for the taking. We made some bad decisions down the stretch. Of course, missed free throws. The Darius Garland corner three, like that changed the game. Obviously, Darius doesn't hit that shot, and we're ahead. The awful inbounds play that we touched on with Simon. The New York Knicks don't make getting buckets easy, right? Especially out of the inbounds, and we need to get better at that. Creating shots for players. It seems like there is no simple way to get a shot for the New York Knicks. It's isolation, or guys are not on the same page in terms of who's going to get the shot. Right? We saw Julius hold the ball for 4, 5, 6 seconds before swinging it to RJ, which did lose some time on the clock, and RJ's advantage to get to the hoop. The defender closed out as well. So like I say, the organization needs to make decisions in terms of who we're running the offense through now. Put guys in positions to get better shots, succeed. Julius Randle still wants to obviously be the guy here. That's clear to see, and I think it's going to be some decisions made based on where this team wants to go, because Julius does want help, right? Julius is on the Tibbs train. He wants his guy Miles Turner. He wants help. He's not happy with Evan Fournier. He's not happy with not quickly. He's not happy with Kemba. The upgrades that were made, and I think Julius Randle, say what you want about him, but in his position, I don't think he's happy with the upgrades that were made right now. And it's him and RJ Barrett's team to get on the same page and correct this thing, right? And Tom Thibodeau needs to obviously coach up this squad better as well. Tom Thibodeau needs to be better. Say what you want about how this season has gone, but Tom Thibodeau can definitely have coached a better season in my eyes, and controlling this thing right now. I know there's a lot on Tom. He's the spokesperson because Leon Rose doesn't speak. Tibbs has got to face the media after every win or loss, talk about issues and things like that. How long does it be before it starts to wane on a 64-year-old Tom Thibodeau, right? I mean, the guy is 64 years old, right? Still coaching his ass off in terms of the on the sidelines being invested, right? But it's got to wear thin on him right now. And I appreciate you, Shine Cubes, the chat, everybody, keeping this thing buzzing. The New York Knicks, have a tough second half of this season, and the East is tough as well. But there is going to be some teams that do make decisions about going in opposite directions, right? We're going to see maybe Indiana start to blow things up, move some pieces on. We're going to see the other teams just above and below us. Who else is there around us? We've got Washington. The Chicago Bulls are starting to lose some players as well. They may fall back down a little bit. Cleveland's on the up. And of course, we have Charlotte, that are a bright young team coming up. And moves will be made as well. Moves will be made. Like P. Nye says, Allah Tibbs has no life. This is what he lives for as well. Facts, yep. You see him on the sidelines, super invested as well, but he knows this roster's flawed. Like he knows how far off we are. I just wonder, Tom Thibodeau at his age, right? The level of effort and energy he exerts on the sidelines, right? Barking every single call, every play. Where this game's going to, right? Could Johnny Bryan or someone young be closer than what we think as well? Just in terms of where the organization is at. Not saying they're just going to fire Tibbs straight away, but, we're getting a reality check this season. We're getting a bit of a reality check. And but like I did say to Simon as well, getting one piece in here can change a lot, but that piece is probably going to come in the summer, most likely, through bigger trades and things like that. I don't really see that home run trade happening this season, right? If you look at the players rumored, you got your Ben Simmons, you got De'Aaron Fox. You guys tell me, do you see anyone else sort of, in that level of big fish being available this trade period as well? That can move this team, closer to where it needs to be, right? I don't see really anybody else being available outside of that. And this trade period. And Dan, salute. I'd like to see Tibbs remove Julius with about 3 to 4 minutes left in the first. That would give Obi a solid 8-minute stretch as well. That's some good insight on a rotation tweak, Dan. Tom Thibodeau, his rotations work like clockwork. Basically, he sets a timer almost in a certain minute mark, and he'll make that swing. I don't think he's going to move away from that, as frustrating as that can be. And P. Nice is on the JB train, with Tibbs being the assistant. Would Tibbs still be willing to stick around if the New York Knicks had to change course? Would Tibbs still want to be part of this thing? I'm not too sure. He's a lifer, like Allah says. He's probably want to go to another team, right? If Tom Thibodeau got fired by the Knicks, I could see him sitting out 1 year and then maybe trying to go to one other team, right? I think Tibbs is a control freak in a way. He wants to be head coach. I think if possible, he wants to be leading the ship, so to speak. But the NBA is changing. The game is changing right now. And I'm interested to see how much influence Tibbs has on personnel decisions. We know he's close to Leon. He's close with Leon. Like, in terms of personnel decisions, what do you guys think? How much say Tibbs has in that? He wasn't really a fan of Evan Fournier. I don't believe in that acquisition. So in terms of that, what other, influences does he have? It's going to be really, really telling, to see. But Leon Rose is, at the end of the day, no matter how many cooks and chefs in the kitchen, he needs to be the one to pull rank, right? There is only, I spoke about it with Ron, my guy, Ron Cleveland. There's only one CEO. There's only one CEO for Walmart. There's only one CEO for McDonald's. There's only one CEO for every other company. So, at the end of the day, one guy needs to pull rank and make the calls right now. Leon Rose is the president of ops. But how many cooks in the kitchen have influence on him? You've got JD, Jim Dolan, still in the works. Like, he may need to be consulted in terms of salary decisions, maybe not personnel decisions, but salary wise, he probably still has to be consulted. Kenny Payne's, we know the great story that was written last year about him banging his hand on the table, get me quickly. He feels like he has a big say. His words need to be heard. You got a GM still in Scott Perry. Scott Perry, his wise thoughts and his experience around the league. And Johnny says, I don't want to totally lose teams. We need someone that knows defense. Would we move Julius? We can get a quality trade with difference in quality rotation, quality decision making as well. So, I could see too, people want to keep Tibbs around, his solid foundations. Tom Thibodeau did establish a foundation with this team. And some people do want to see that continue, right? Continue the stability that this team has built. This team has built some stability right now, and remove would be a tough situation right now. I think removing Tibbs certainly in the next 6 months is not going to happen, right? It needs to happen in the off season, I feel like, and nothing out there. Yeah, we can move these two Burks and Kemba and run a 10-man rotation. Make a major move there in the off seasons, right? Facts. Maybe Randall, Noel, Rose, only on the 1-year contracts and a ton of picks as well. Definitely, Shah. Make some moves based on the flexibility, and consolidating assets that we have with this team. I think that's the smart way to go. Just continue. As frustrating it is, the New York Knicks just need to continue to kick the can until some sun and some light, some shine comes on us in terms of free agent finally declaring New York that where they want to go, or in terms of being tanking and building that superstar through the draft. That's going to be tough now, right? We're close to a winning record. Trying to win that draft, top 3 selection is going to be tough, right? To build through the draft. We continuously get the 7th, 8th, 9th pick, the Obies, the Knoxes, all of that. They ain't really that generational star talent that's going to get us there, right? So the New York Knicks do need to look at the trades and free agency probably as the most realistic option right now. Because with Tibbs here, we ain't going down that tanking route. Frank says that Tibbs is better than that used car salesman we had as well. And P. Ramos, who would be a coach as good or better than Tibbs that could coach in this town? We have to get off this rotation of fired coaches, and stick with one through thick and thin as well. Yeah, I could see that being the course, P. Yeah, in terms of Tibbs giving more time on this thing. Maybe he needs to adjust his philosophy a little bit, get on the same page with Leon. Maybe James Dolan puts his hand down and just says, no, I'm not eating another contract, right? I'm not firing another coach, at least for another 2 more years, right? Just rebuild or whatever, rock with that, and then I'll decide in 2 years' time, right? That's going to be interesting. Or possibly the other way, James Dolan might be, hey, I want to win right now. Get Tibbs out of here. If that's what you want to do, Leon, it's totally your call. And like Dan says here, it's up to Rose to clear the roster and force Tibbs to play out our youth. That means Burks, Fournier, Walker, and Randall on the next thing smoking. That is the situation I'm looking at, Dan, in terms of this trade period as well, because I don't see an obvious home run move. I just don't see it, out of, like I said, whether you like the players or not. Ben Simmons, De'Aaron Fox, they're probably the highest profile players that are going to get moved this offseason, this trade season. And are they going to be dudes that take us over the top with this current roster as well? And let alone all the picks that we got to give up to get those guys. We've got to gut the roster probably to get a lot of those players as well. Philly's looking like a really, really difficult trade partner for Ben right now. The De'Aaron Fox one seems to be a lot more realistic, but let's see. And like Allah says, New York's not firing Tibbs right now. In the second year off a winning season last season, that would be a pretty tough look. Obviously, they'd have their reasons, but it looked like it'd be a tough look for the New York Knicks to make that decision right now. I think they're going to make decisions on the personnel first. I think the Julius Randle situation, that situation's going to be looked at a lot more before the Tibbs situation. You know what? This is the opportunity for this front office too to show us how good they are. The Brock Allah, the whole team, right? They're a team. Whether they agree or disagree, they've got to get on the same page and make the best decisions for this team. Salute Green Goblin. The front office, right? Whether they agree or disagree on certain things, they can put this team in the best position to where we need to go. Make those smart decisions right now. We have salary decisions to make too. Mitchell Robinson has had a good season. Has been impressive at times. He's been hurt at other times, but most part, Mitch has been impressive. Has he won over this front office in terms of their willingness to invest in Mitch, heavily for the future now? Mitchell Robinson's taken his game, and continue to improve. And, it's going to be interesting in terms of that salary decision that needs to be made. The Cam Reddish move with RJ Barrett, obviously one more year, they need to make that decision as well. And Knicks 100 says, Knicks need another legit wing, 6'8", 6'9". It's the missing piece. When you say legit wing, Knicks 100, are you a fan of Cam Reddish, giving him burn, or just continue to go out for that other star wing in terms of a Brandon Ingram or a Kawhi Leonard, that kind of legit wing, do you mean? But I think the point guard spot, we have some centers we can rock with for another year or two. I'm okay with who we got, the center spot. We're okay at the power forward for now. Let's address the point guard situation ASAP. Like I said, a younger D Rose. Like, it's funny, it's ironic that D Rose is that player that this team really, really needs and misses. It's just unfortunate the fact that it's too late. Like, D Rose is 33 years old. He can't play 38 starter minutes, right? But D Rose, that is the type of player this team sorely lacks. If we had a younger version of D Rose, we'd be a lot closer than we think, right? The way he breaks down the defense, the way he gets to the cup, the way he can shoot and pull up, the way he finds the man, the trailers, the open court. And Jerry would like to see Kenny Atkinson in here. A lot of fans here wanted Kenny up in here as well as Mike Miller. Kenny would be nice in terms of developing if they went that route. The young players and understanding them and developing them. And pieces there, we have to figure out who we are starting at point guard is, and Kemba has got to go. Definitely, that's the other elephant in the room. Decisions need to be made, and I think that will. I think Kemba clears the logjam as well. Tibbs may just get his wish. He may prefer to continue to see Alec Burks at the starting point guard spot, and one way to do that is to clear clear Kemba out of here. And Dan says, I think about that one play, Reddish rebounds the ball, drives up the court, hesitates and explodes to the cup for a reverse layup. If you know basketball, you understand what that play shows as well. I completely agree, Dan, with that. And I think Cam's going to get minutes. He's going to get his shine and be able to show. Like Green Goblin says, they give him burn regardless. We need to see his value for us if we're going to trade him or not, or keep him around. Consolidate assets with this front office, right? We need to be smart about this. We have young player with potential at the wing. And like I said to Simon, once and for all, we have a wing with size, right? 6'8", a proper sized wing. Yep, just legit in height and can move their feet, like Knicks 100 says. Yep, too. So we're on the same page with that. And P nice here, Brunson will be, and you got Levert, Brunson, and the Turner by the deadline as well. If the New York Knicks go that route, they definitely signify that they're all in with Julius, RJ right now and trying to get up there in the East. I think they're trying to make some moves. Like Green says, we need a good point guard more than anything, to be honest, right? For the longest time, we've absolutely needed that. Tibbs, not Leon, like a Rose, like small guard. So I don't know about Brunson. That's going to be interesting. Like Johnny says, truth be told, we are free throws away from being higher in the standing. So as disappointed as I am, I don't feel so bad just because we need a small adjustment. And one player can make a big swing too. One player can change the course. Of course, if they're a superstar, a star type player, like I said with Donovan Mitchell type, you put him in our point guard spot, you can make it work with Julius. You can make it work with RJ. If you added Donovan Mitchell, if you added maybe a Damian Lillard, who I don't think is a possibility anymore, but I'm just saying, maybe De'Aaron Fox. I'm on the fence about Fox in terms of his play, his salary, but that type of guy, he could be the guy inserted with Julius, taking the ball out of Julius's hands, work with RJ, getting in the open court. Maybe Fox is a guy that can help this team. And like Cam's Green Goblin, Cam has size and can get his own shot, can get to the cup as well, get out and transition. And at the least, right, maybe after the deadline, we would like to see Cam get run with the bench unit, heavy minutes, right? Just when D Rose comes back, get D Rose quickly, Cam, Obi and and whoever else at the spot, get up and down as fast as they can. That'd be a spicy lineup. Shah says, Reddish and Grimes doesn't get any minutes yet. If we keep Burks and Kemba around as well, right? They're holding things up. And Danny, we can move Noel too. I think we got Jericho Sims. We got maybe Lucas Samanic. Can play a small ball 5. Let's see. It's going to be about if there's takers or not. For Noel, $10 million. If he stays healthy, I can see teams being interested. In that. What about making the move for Westbrook, Danny? I'd sit this one out. With Westbrook. I just think it'd be a sideways move right now, Danny, with Westbrook. I know what kind of things he'd offer for this team, but in terms of the trade, the salary that would be needed, he would keep Julius in check a little bit more. He'd get Julius's trust, but I'm sitting it out for Westbrook. I'd rather Deuce get the minutes. And Dan, yeah, go get Pat Bev on the cheap as well. And we need a bit of grittiness, a bit of nastiness on the defensive end, right? Getting up in people. That's what this team lacks, right? If anything, yeah, we need that physicality. Yeah, and Jerry says, yeah, not one pick was set on the last play. 4 players spread the floor, no movement, nothing. What the hell was that play? I was dumbfounded as well, Jerry, with that one. Poor inbounding again. Alec Burks inbounding the ball. Salute to Lamar Stevens. The Cleveland player did switch 3 times. He had an excellent defensive possession by switching, but the New York Knicks, to your point, made it too easy, way too easy. Players all running in the same direction. Nobody's setting picks, nothing. I'm not even a coach. I could draw up a better play than that. Now the play may have got blown up, but it did look horrible. It looked horrible. Go get me Sadiq Bey. I'd love him, definitely, but I don't know if Detroit's gonna move on from that. Maybe they, if they do want Obi Toppin, I'd listen to that. And Pat Bev ain't bad because we love his D. But like I spoke to Simon about Mo Bamba, a player coming into his own now, stretching the floor. He's doing it on both ends. One of the longest wingspans in the NBA, and Mo Bamba would that be a nice great upgrade for this team, no doubt. And is Pat Bev available? That's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure we could acquiesce to some picks, to help them out, second rounders, something. And Wayne, salute. I could think Samanic with reps would fit in better as Obi Roby's role as a stretch 4 that rebounds, that plays 8 to 12 minutes. Another thing on Luka, I've been waiting for him to heal from that foot injury. Luka's foot injury with the G League, and I think he will get more reps later in the season. Hopefully, when the log jam heals up. And like P says, Pat Bev would be a locker room leader that we need, right? He would take nothing from nobody. He'd be up in people's grill. That is the kind of leader, again, we need. Hold people accountable. And I salute 19 man, salute. We're just spitballing about this team, and I guess being realistic now. We've had half a season to see where we're at. We can all come to a conclusion about what we need to do. How can we fix this thing, right? Get out of some salaries, empower the young guys, give them a runway in order to succeed, or show what they can be in this league, right? It's time that this organization empowers some young players to give them that full runway without worry of being pulled or sporadic minutes and things like that, right? Whilst I had expectations this season, we need to pivot. Like I'm okay if we make the play in, for example. If we miss out on the play in, even if we miss out for the right reasons, because we were empowering the young guys, giving them all the burn, then I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Punting the season in terms of we're not doing anything this season anyway, right? We need to be getting closer to where we need to get. And a small forward who can play alongside Cam for stretches is what this team desperately needs. Nothing smaller than a 6'7" wing, right? Size. We did definitely struggle against sizable wings. And Sharp Hours, IQ, Evan, RJ, Mitch Randall starters with Rose, Grimes, Reddish, Noel, and Obi second unit. Situational to be Taj, Deuce, Sims, bring up Luka, and that dude on the bench now, big 15 for this season. 19 comment. How about Noel, Burks, Obi, and Rokas for Barnes, Bagley, and Halliburton as well? Sacramento is going to be an interesting trade topic because they're definitely in the market right now. They're making moves. Harrison Barnes, Marvin Bagley, and Halliburton. They're on the block. So, and De'Aaron Fox is on the block as well. That's straight facts with that one. And Esco chosen 12 tribes. Who would you keep if you had Quickly or Grimes to choose from? I'm definitely going to have to go with QG, Quentin Grimes on that one, Esco. Give me your thoughts on that. Look, quickly, I'm high on quickly still, but man, was he frustrating. I need to see more maturity, more growth from quickly. I know his skill set, he can stroke it, but man, pulling up from logo shots like that constantly does annoy me a bit, right? And on the other hand, Quentin Grimes got us back into the game, right? Perfect complementary piece on a championship team. Any team, QG could slot right in, catch it and shoot it in the blink of an eye, and a solid marksman that this team hasn't had in a long time. Green Goblin, facts, Pat Bev would get in Randall face ASAP, right? They'd have words. I think they'd probably come to blows, probably, right? Some healthy locker room scuffle. And Jerry, Obi isn't as good as Randall, but on a night, he is a plus 20 in 15 minutes with 6 boards, playing much better than Randall. This game, getting into the 3-point shooters, no need to switch so soon. And Randall is a minus 22 as well. It's definitely going to be something to watch, right? Julius Randle, in terms of his game, right, it is what it is. I don't see Randall's game changing again skill-wise. He peaked last season, but what I'd love to see from Randall is just to continue to have a great feel for the game, improve his feel for the game, right? Know when to get antsy, know when to get up people, pass the rock, all of that. And I just think, we're seeing this Randall. We're seeing the best and worst of Randall because he's in the wrong role. Randall is the second, third guy. Would see a completely different thing. But we need that actual guy, that stud, that would say, hey, I'm the guy now, Randall. Like, there's no argument. With him and RJ, it's sort of back and forth because RJ is still young. But if we make a swing for a bona fide guy, there is no argument that Julius needs to step into a different role. And Green Goblin gives the Kings what they want, other than RJ and Cam, to get Halliburton in here as well. 19 takes Grimes. 19 comment. He's on the Grimes train. And Knicks 100 doesn't want nothing off the Kings, but Rashawn Holmes, Mitchell, Davian Mitchell, and T. Davis. Let's see if they want to move on from Davion. But I think Holmes is on the block too. That's going to be interesting. Yeah. Halliburton's IQ is definitely, whether we took Obi or not, Halliburton was probably the next best option, right? In terms of that selection, and getting Halliburton would help us out big time, playing off the ball. And Wayne says, quickly got to go. He's a 6'3" shooting guard when we have 6'5" shooting guard that plays D and takes better shots in Grimes as well. Appreciate that. IQ, he's improved in terms of his floor vision, getting those assists up. But IQ, he needs to continue to get a better handle. We've seen it. He can't break down the D, right? Quickly drives into the paint, into the trees. What does he do? He pulls it back out, or he gets the shot clock violation, right? For all the talk that, quickly wants to be perceived as a floor general point guard, right? There was one play that was telling for me last night. And the fact was, quickly caught the ball with about 3 seconds left, I think. He went one-on-one. He had the mismatch. He drove into the paint, right? Eight 2 seconds off the clock. And what did he do? He decided to pull the ball back out, right? He should have been aware of what the shot clock situation was, right? You make that decision to drive and take on your defender with 3 seconds on the clock. You cannot be pulling the ball back out and getting a shot clock violation. And a Green IQ could be the guy that comes off the bench for scoring. And a JC crossover, a J crossover type role as well. Yep. Maybe that is the knock on quickly, and that is his ceiling in terms of what some people think quickly can be. I know it's still young. It's hard to label guys, but we need to see some more growth, in shot selection, and then, work on his handle, right? His pull-up shooting game's nice, quickly. He's always going to have that in his arsenal. He's gone off the floater as well recently. He's shot some mid-range shots. But like Jarvis says, that would be ironic if the Knicks get Halliburton in a trade after drafting Obi instead of him. I wouldn't mind having DM as well. on the money there, Jarvis. Salute to you as well. Yeah, out of Obi and Halliburton, it was sort of those were the two options. I think the New York Knicks really needed a guard. We didn't know Julius Randle was going to become an all-star, so we swung, and Leon took his guy. And Rashawn plays D, and he's a serious rebounder. He's a big body. He sets monster screens as well, right? Talk about if we need solid screen setting, Rashawn Holmes can set you a screen, right? So yeah, he'll be helpful, for this club, right? I'm sick of seeing dudes set screens, right? But it doesn't really get the player open, right? We gain no advantage. Like we say, quickly needs to drive to the cup and then pull the ball back out again, right? We're just going east and west most of the time, right? We need to go north and south. Like Derek, that's what makes this team so different when Derrick Rose is here, right? Derrick Rose only knows two directions, right? North and south, right? He doesn't know nothing about east and west. And he puts the defender on his back heel, right? That's why I said the perfect player to take this team to the next level is a younger D Rose, ironically, right? Whichever player is the closest comp to him, whether it be Ja Morant, whether it be Donovan Mitchell, whatever it may be, we need a baby D Rose to change this team on offense, right? Get up and down, get the defense, scrambling, player that can pull up from deep, athletic. I know those players don't grow on trees, but you get one player like that, and it changes the whole thing, big time. And yeah, Davian is good also, but I'd take Halliburton over Davian or Davian as well. The Sacramento Kings, we haven't done a deal with them in a long time. It's going to be interesting to see if Scott Perry, makes some calls to a team that he has familiar ties with. Remember Scott Perry and the Sacramento Kings do have a history. And Esco says, what do we think about Tibbs pulling Obi after he hit that 3-pointer? So I'll shake my head. Tibbs isn't really calling rotations based on feel for the game at all. He has no feel for that at all. He'll make a substitution based on time in the quarter, based on his trust on the starting unit. In his eyes, when he decides who are the starters, he's already making a decision that I'm riding or dying, and these are the guys that I'm going to win with, right? And if they don't have it on that night, then I'm going to lose with them. He's not a guy that's going to sway his decisions and adjust to a feel of the game accordingly. And that is the knock. That is the knock on Tom Thibodeau as well. No adjustments. And on that, he always talks about practice. That's how you win me over, and that's how I formulate my rationale. And Shah says, I think we stay packed. A big deal will throw the rest of the season. I think big moves take too many of a team way, and we will take too long to gel. Yeah, it's tough, right? With 30 games left, 25 games left to make a big splash. Why is Killer Cam in the doghouse? I think it's purely for the fact that Tom Thibodeau wants the log jam cleared. I think Alec Burks he loves Quentin Grimes too. He doesn't want to lose Quentin Grimes at all, and he doesn't want any minutes taken from those fellas as well. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see moving ahead. And Kobe White on the Bulls, mirror image of D Rose. Kobe White, good point in terms of draft players that we missed out on. Knicks 100. I mentioned Cole Anthony to Simon. Cole Anthony was a great test case for the shot quality, right? In terms of his efficiency for NC, he had no shooting around him. Cole Anthony looked a hot mess in college, right? But put a different team around him. Come into the NBA, a different player as well. And at the same time, Obi Toppin had a team that was completely built around him in college, right? The college Obi Toppin team accentuated his strengths, right? And then he comes into the NBA, and it's the polar opposite, right? Obi Toppin, is forced to adjust to a team not built around him as well. So Cole Anthony, Colby White, maybe RJ Hampton, he's with Orlando as well. A lot of young players I can see popping later in their career, just like Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's totally popped. And Jerry says, yeah, got to try something. Season slipping away, and Tibbs can/doesn't adapt. But a lot of people want switch Grimes for Fournier, Reddish for Burks. How can you tell if it won't work if you don't try it? So, yeah, exactly. I think Tom Thibodeau, and it's tough during the season due to practice. He probably would like every coach. Yeah, ask them. They would love 5, 6, 7 days break in the middle of a season, maybe, to get practice. And we have the All-Star break, which that's more of a disruption, right? Players go on vacay, they go over to the All-Star game, things like that. That doesn't give a coach any chance to integrate pieces and things like that, right? Maybe this new proposed NBA mid-season tournament, for teams that may want to sit out of the tournament, maybe they choose that route to try to get chemistry and things like that. Because, yeah, like you say, Grimes for Fournier, how do we know, if we insert him for the 30 minutes, we insert Reddish for Burks for 30 minutes, maybe it takes us to another level, right? Whereas all the talk is the vets are the only guys that can help us win. And Wayne says here he likes RJ Hampton as well. A high upside with RJ Hampton, right? His stock's quite low right now, but he's built from good stock. He was highly touted, long guard, rangy as well. I could see him, pop in a couple of years as well. So in terms of draft and guards, we've certainly whiffed on so many, more than we can name. Right, this stream would go on for 24 hours if I listed all the guards that we've whiffed on. At the end of the day, we need to pony up and find someone. We need to maybe we try to right our wrongs, like we said, and go get Halliburton. Maybe we try to go for the family ties with our Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean? Maybe we go back to that well. Maybe the Kentucky connection with De'Aaron Fox, and 19 Conman salute. What do I think about TyTy Washington as well? Hey, great question. I'm not sure you were with us a bit earlier. We had Simon, SHOTQUALITY.com. He could see TyTy in terms of being up there in the top players analytically that can help this team, right? The Kentucky connection, definitely. I think the New York Knicks have their eye on that. That's going to be very interesting to see. We're still ways off to be talking about the draft. Tonight was just a little glimpse into the future. You can never have your eye on the future too early. It was great chopping it up with Simon too, and we'll hopefully have him back on again, and we can throw some more questions at him as the March Madness hits. We're all going to go crazy over March Madness, things like that, hopefully, and we'll have a lot more to talk about in terms of what this roster looks like. What trades have been made, and what doors have opened for Cam Reddish and other young pieces. I want to see, like Simon said too, he's very, very high on Deuce McBride. We need to see Deuce start playing some more, whether it be G League or big club. And we do have some great young guards on our roster: Quentin Grimes, Deuce McBride, and Rokas, a nice prospect overseas, who's cooking right now. He's cooking with the high upside, right? I think the New York Knicks' position at the guard spot could be brighter than it looks right now, just because these guys, they haven't popped yet. They haven't popped, and we need to give them the chance to grow. And RJ Barrett's been the biggest positive for me so far this season. Leadership, his game stepping up each year. I just want to see RJ Barrett, whether he becomes a star, all-star, whatever. If RJ just gets better every year, he's going to get to where we need him to go, I feel like. And Mitchell Robinson's been a positive this season. The Knicks have a decision to make on Mitch, and the other probably the third best positive for this season for me has been Quentin Grimes as well. We hit on that pick, 25th overall selection. Proof is in the pudding. He's deep into the rotation now. Salute to him, right? For the talk that Tibbs won't play rookies, there is a blueprint. It might be a very, very fine line, but there is a blueprint to get into Tibbs' rotation if you're a rookie, and that is to defend. If you can defend, you can shoot. You could get Tom's trust. And he is very, very high on Grimes right now. Quentin Grimes just balling out, becoming a winning player every single night. Could there be more to Quentin's game? Right, that would really get me higher on Grimes. to a hysterical point where if Grimes could just flash some dribble penetration, he's got the little side step back, the hezzy, Quentin Grimes. I know he's got more in his arsenal. I can feel it, but the time just hasn't allowed him to show what he can do, and I think it's going to continue to to be a big story. Shout out everybody. The chat's on fire, buzzing. Jarvis, salute Danny. The Godfather, Leon Rose, does need to earn his money, right? Phil Jackson couldn't earn his money. Steve Mills couldn't earn his money. Let's hope, right? Leon Rose is the agent that he knows all about the money, right? And let's hope he earns the money. And Danny says, I heard that earlier today about Melton. Okay. Avery Johnson says the Knicks should get Melton from the Grizzlies as well. Is that DeAnthony Melton? Which Melton is that? Is that DeAnthony Melton? And Esco Grimes is the truth, right? You couldn't really ask for a better prospect at the 25th pick, right? Obviously there's superstars drafted late in the first round too, but Quentin Grimes, or to be what he's showing us already, that's definitely amazing. And appreciate the update, Jarvis, and I'm so glad to hear that you're well. Your result came back, and salute to everybody. Stay safe. Look out for yourself, your family, loved ones, and glad you can rock with us. Jerry, your off season, overwhelm OKC, give Obi, IQ, McBride, and 2 firsts for SGA. He's on the brink of stardom. You signed DeAndre Ayton as a free agent. First, Randall, RJ, Ayton, Shea, Fournier, second, Reddish, D Rose, Burks, and Noel. Plus, definitely do whatever you can do to get SGA. Sam Presti's going to love the first round selections. They've got a young Josh Giddey who looks promising. Maybe that helps them make better decisions on that. But I think, he's quite happy probably letting SGA's stock continue to grow, right? Continue to keep growing, right? It's like a slot machine that's just ticking over and over in terms of his value. But that is one guy that would shift this franchise forward enormously. And like Danny's saying, what about Westbrook again? Not the biggest fan of Westbrook, Danny, in terms of his play, his age, and his salary as well. I'm happy to sit that one out. Happy to sit it out with Westbrook. We got some young players I'd prefer to play over Westbrook. Jarvis, I saw that interview. He's another option with DeAnthony Melton. Plus, he's gotten decreased minutes as well. That trade is boss move. Sharp Hours gives it the thumbs up. And Wayne, I'd send Quickly and Randall to Houston for Christian Wood as well. Quickly and Randall to Houston for Christian Wood. I think that's a heavy price to pay. Would definitely need some more back with that. But I could see the need, the want for Christian Wood, giving us that different look, stretching the floor out, being a rim protector as well. He'd be a nice find with Christian Wood. And Esco, do I think Grimes should have been in the top 15 last year as well? That's going to be an interesting topic to watch and question. Good question. Quentin Grimes, I need to see him continue to ball out, in this rotation more. But if you're doing the redraft all over again, I think it's looking like Quentin Grimes would have gone higher, definitely potentially higher as well. And a big bow salute. Did Tibbs ever listen to his staff during in-game situation or action like other head coaches in the league? I don't see Tibb doing that. Good observation, big bow. I don't see that either. And that is the knock on Tibbs, right? He feels that he has all the knowledge he needs to make the decisions. But it's tough, I would hope that he would listen to Johnny Bryant, his guy Dice in the locker room. A lot of people say we miss Woody, Mike Woodson. He's a guy that Tibbs would definitely have his ear and listen to that. Woody Woodson, he's been sorely missed as well in terms of more leadership, right, in the coaching, in the locker room, on the coaching sideline. People don't take no nonsense with Mike Woodson there as well, right? He can relate to young players. He could also put them on blast. He could get their respect, and he can also, keep them in check. Mike Woodson as well, which is why he was a great hire for Indiana college program. They got something good with Mike Woodson. And Jarvis, this is a serious trade. Excellent move. If Leon could make that happen. Exec of the year to Jerry as well. So, hey, we're doing this thing. We're wheeling and dealing. We'll be back for more shows, in the blink of an eye, in a New York minute. Got more guests coming through. We get closer to the trade deadline. We'll be getting some people on. We get closer to the draft, of course. We're going to keep this thing rolling. You guys keep the streets buzzing. This is your show, the chat show. And today it was perfect to have Simon on, talk about shot quality. And no doubt, we learned a lot from that. And, salute to all the good work being done at SHOTQUALITY.com. The link's in the description if you want to learn more about SHOTQUALITY.com. There's two Twitter handles, Shot Quality and Shot Quality Bets as well, using the algorithm, to show you how to, increase your percentages, and winning. Bet with your head, not with your heart. In terms of that situation, of course, like Simon alluded to, there's going to be a promotion. The access is going to be unrestricted for 3 days as well. Access for 3 days free of charge, which is amazing. I'm sure a lot of people will be taking advantage of that as well. And appreciate everybody, and keep it on lock. Salute to you, everybody. And the streets are buzzing, and we'll be back soon. Peace.